Hello and welcome to the Bad Dice Podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about Battletome Bonesplitterz, which has just been released on pre-order this weekend. There's also the new Storm of Sigmar boxed set, which is kind of an introduction set. It's almost like the initial Age of Sigmar box set that's been out a year now. This is kind of a cut down version of it, which is quite cool. There's a magazine as well called Getting Started with Age of Sigmar, which has been released this week too. There's Shar'tor the Executioner from Forge World. Is now up for pre-order, and he has some really cool rules. Well, I say really cool, we'll get to that in a bit. So there's lots going on. There's almost too much to talk about. The summer campaign, the Season of War, is in full flow as well. And there's just, I find it hard to believe it's only been a week since I was last sat here recording. Just looking at my painting table in front of me, I've got a whole new hobby desk. Actually, there's been photos of that on my forums this week. It's a pro paint station from hobbyzone.pl. I've got a review of that coming soon, not in this episode, but I built that. I've painted a Carmine Dragon, a Bloodthirster. I've even got a Charybdis on the go, which I've not done anything with for a couple of years. I've started painting him. I've painted a Bonesplitterz Savage Orc Hero, which is a cool model which I've been wanting to paint for a while and just never got around to it. I've actually bought one of the Forge World. He was kind of an old, I don't know what he was really. It's the bust of the Night Goblin or the Moon Clan, which Forge World produced years ago, and I picked him up on eBay this week. There's just been so much going on. I find it hard to believe it's only been a week. It seems like a month's worth of hobby has been crammed into a week. So let's get into the review. So Battletome Bonesplitterz has been released and it's on pre-order now. If you want to go to the Games Workshop website, you can check out all the cool pictures from the book. And basically the Bonesplitterz are getting the full-on Sylvaneth treatment. There's no new units, but there's a few new War Scrolls. There's actually 10 War Scrolls in the book. They've got allegiance abilities, battle trait, command traits, all sorts of things like that, which is very cool. And this is really the first sign of things to come for future Battletomes in Age of Sigmar. We've had the General's Handbook on pre-order already. We've got Sylvaneth, which is actually with us now, and you can go into your stores and buy it. And now this is the very next Battletome that's absolutely fully packed with all the real cool stuff that we've already had a peek at in the General's Handbook and with the Sylvaneth. So just in the Battletome, Bonesplitterz Battletome, we have allegiance abilities which give you some monster hunting abilities. So the whole story of the Bonesplitterz is that they're crazy orcs who have been infected with the spirit of Gorkamorka or Mork or Gork, and they just can't get the war out of the head. It's in the body, it's pumping through the systems like blood, and they go savage, they go feral. So the savage orcs, or the Bonesplitterz, are on a constant war, and they think that their spirit and their powers are fueled by the spirits and the souls of monsters. So all their allegiance abilities and their battle traits, their command abilities, the lore of the war, and their artifacts of power are all geared around hunting monsters, and it's a real nice theme to the book. Now the Sylvaneth were all themed around the wildwoods and the power of life. So the Bonesplitterz are closely tied to this hunting monsters theme, and it works really well. So some of the command traits that are in there, we've got basically an army-wide battle trait of a 6+ save is always a successful save. So when you make a save roll on a 6+, no matter what the modifiers are, if you're fighting against Manners 10 Rend, a natural 6 on the dice will always be a successful save. In addition, against mortal wounds, every model in the army gets a save of 6. There's a command trait that increases the general's save to a 4+, which is nice. The general can also do things like add +1 charge to units nearby. The lore of the war is really interesting. Again, like the Sylvaneth Battletome, you can choose spells or you can roll them up, whichever. But there's some nice nice spells in there. There's like Hand of Mork or Gork, where you can double your unit's move, which is very cool. And there's also one called Bone Crusher, which, depending on how far away you are from your target, it does different amounts of damage. So if you're within 6 inches, you can do D6 damage. But if you actually roll a double on the casting value, it doubles the damage that it dishes out as well. So on a single spell, you could be doing 12 mortal wounds, and that's just incredible. So it's a really nice book. There's no new models, let's just reiterate that, but there is some new war scrolls compared to what was in the compendiums. They've got the similar treatment to the Flesh Eater Courts, where there's just a few tweaks to what you could take before, and a couple of new war scrolls squeezed in there. There's absolutely, in fact, I didn't talk about this much in the Sylvaneth review, but the battalions section is absolutely fantastic. So not only do you get your War Scroll battalions, where you can take, say, 2 or 3 different units which go together into a battalion, and that gives you some nice abilities for that little battalion, but you also get what's called a War Clan in the Bonesplitterz book, and you can take different types of War Clans, which gives you different abilities, and these are basically your other battalions joined together. So rather than taking, for example, Savage War Clan, you get 1 Wurgog Prophet, 1 Cop Rook, 1 Snagger Rook, 1 Brutal Rook, 1 Cunning Rook, and 1 Teeth Rook. Now, all those Rooks are actually, they're actually War Scroll battalions. So that's quite cool. So a Teeth Rook is just 2 to 5 units of big stabbers. A Brutal Rook is 1 Savage Big Boss, and 2 to 5 units chosen in any combination from Savage Orcs and Savage Boar Boys. So that's really cool how you can start pushing together your different battalions to make bigger battalions. And in addition to that, there's also the different war clans. So that's like the one basic Savage War Clan. And then there's Bone Grinders War Clan. So these are like the more themed armies, like the different, if in the Stormcast it would be the Chambers, I suppose. And they've also all got their own abilities. So if you're watching on the video, you can see the book now. So we've got the Icebone War Clan, Drackfoot War Clan, and it's got an organisation chart telling you what units come into there. So some of them are just unit entries. Some of them are actual other battalions that have been pieced together, and there's a load of abilities that, if you start piling on these extra battalions to make these big clans, you get the battalion abilities plus an overriding ability on top of that, and this is a very cool way of organising your armies. And I think give yourselves, I don't know, maybe 6 months or a year, when we've got, Sylvaneth Battletome, the Bonesplitterz Battletome already. There's going to be more Battletomes in the future, I'm sure. I can see the whole game being built more around, not so much around armies and alliances, but more around Battletomes and their combination of war clans and things like that. And I think that's going to be a huge key part of the game. Not only choosing some cool units, but making the most of them abilities that are available to you if you start taking these war glades, I think they were called, with the Sylvaneth, and the war clans with the Bonesplitterz. So that's Battletome Bonesplitterz. I'm really excited to see what people start doing with these, because it's one of those armies that everyone loves an orc. Orcs and goblins in the past were the most fun and the most kind of like animated armies out there. So the Bonesplitterz and the new Orcs, the Ironjaws, are really cool releases, and it's going to get really fantastic to see these on the table. So next up, I want to talk about this Getting Started with Warhammer book. Now, it's an interesting release, really. When you pick it up and look through it, it's kind of a different direction to the rest of the Warhammer releases. Now, it's almost like a graphic novel. It's very colourful, the pages are packed full of stuff. There's whole new kits that are coming out with it. There's like the Storm of Sigmar box set, where you're getting, I think it's 2 Retributors, 3 Liberators, and then a few Bloodbound models as well, Reavers and Blood Warriors. In the book, you're getting how to paint guides. So you've got how to paint a Blood Secretor, how to paint Mighty Lord of Khorne, and a few other. It's kind of everything that's been released for Age of Sigmar particularly the Bloodbound and the Stormcast over the last year, it's kind of a highlights reel to show someone getting into the game now. Just pick this book up. It's only a £5, so pretty cheap entry into the game. It's got a plastic liberator on the front of the book as well, the one that was in the White Dwarf when it was first released. So you can pick that book up and you can go home. You've got a model to paint, you've got stories to read, there's fluff in there, there's how to paint guides, there's rules and war scrolls, things like that. And it's a fantastic introduction to the game. So it's going to be cool to see new players coming into the game off the back of picking up this new Getting Started with Age of Sigmar release. Now, this is in the White Dwarf Weekly this weekend as well, and there's also a few more releases to go with it, and there's collect, build, paint and play boxes, Blood Reavers, Blood Warriors, Liberators and Retributors. So rather than buying the Storm of Sigmar set, you can buy these boxes individually. And these come with a couple of models, an assembly guide, and just bits to get you into the game very easy. So it's a new direction. It's really easy entry into the game. New players should find it fantastic to pick these up, get started, and away you go. It's super easy. Okay, so that's another release this weekend. Next up then, we've got Shar'tor the Executioner. So anyone who follows me on Twitter, and of course you all should, will know that I've already done a short Twitter video about my thoughts on this guy. I've seen his rules. I've had the model for about 2, maybe 3 months. I got him just before Warhammer Fest. I was able to get him built and do a review of the actual model before he went on sale at Warhammer Fest. So anyone going to Warhammer Fest could have seen it already, pick it up at the event. And there's a few knocking about there on the internet. I've seen some painted versions, and he's a fantastic model. Forge World do some things amazingly well, and that is making really cool looking models, and Chort the Executioner is no different. What I'm not a fan of is the rules. So I've been really looking forward to getting the rules for this guy for the last few months, and the rules have come out, and I'm gutted really, because I was looking forward to another addition to my Chaos Dwarf. So he's got the same stats and damage output as a Tarok, which the Tarok's pretty good. He's got 5 attacks, damage 3 on his axe. It hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, rend of 2. So I'm not disputing he's a bit of a beat stick. He can put out some real damage. But if the Tarok is this big, 4 or 5 inches high, Shar'tor the Executioner is almost twice his size. He's got 1 more wound than the Tarok for being double the size. It doesn't add up. Something's, when you put them both together on the table, you'd expect one to be good and the other to be amazing, and there's a bit of a disconnect there from how the model looks to how it actually performs. So I'm a bit disappointed in that. I also thought he might have some really cool special rules, because he's got this really cool death mask. He's a big guy. He's supposed to be the commander of the Bull Centaurs. I'd have thought that he'd do something amazing, but he's got a couple of abilities. One of them is called Prayers of Malice. That's his command ability. He can choose a unit within 12 inches and give them a 6+ ward. Well, they don't call them ward saves anymore, but a 6+ save against all wounds suffered. That's okay. It's not very Chaos Dwarfy to me. If it was Prayers of Soothing, maybe, but it's certainly not malicious in any way to give a 6+ save. So I wasn't dead keen on that. The other one is Death Mask ability. So instead of charging, he can choose to buff the units around him, and that's really disappointing to me. He's a big combat character. He's got this amazing weapon. You want him in the front line fighting, but instead of charging, he can roll 2 dice, and friendly units in range, if they've got the Bull Centaur keyword, they get to reroll charge distances. That's cool. That's really good. Helping your friendlies do extra charge. That's great. Sacrificing his own charge to do that, not so great. At the same time, any enemy models in range take a mortal wound on a 4+. So on the face value, that's fantastic. He gets in there, he gets stuck in, he does his big buff, boom, everyone nearby, 4+ mortal wounds. So the downside of that is you can't charge. So you have to either already be in combat to get maximum amount of damage, or your 2d6 are straight away going to have a -3, because you can't be within 3 inches of the enemy. You can't be within 3 inches of the enemy unless you're in combat, and so that's 2d6 plus the maximum you can get up to someone is -3. So you're looking at a modifier to that roll, not a modifier to the roll, but you know what I mean. You've got to at least clear that original 3 inches before you start hitting enemy models. It's quite defensible if you're playing against it. You can spread your models out. You won't actually catch that many. So the plan with him would be to move up, charge, get into combat and fight. The following turn, when he's already engaged, you do your buff and hit as many models as possible. Now, if you're playing it that way, you've got to imagine your bull centers are already engaged as well, if he is. So that's a bit of an odd disconnect there as well. He's only got 8 wounds. He's a huge model. He's got just 8 wounds. So if you do get him into combat to really put some damage out with his aura, then people are going to be able to mob him, get a lot of models in base contact with him. You're going to bring him down fairly quickly, I imagine. Just 8 wounds and a 4+ save. It's not going to be that difficult to kill him. So overall, I'm pretty disappointed with the rules. I thought it'd be. I don't mind him being better. I mean, the points will come out, and he could be good or bad depending on how he's pointed. It just doesn't feel like the right model to me. I think, however he comes, he's not going to be cheaper than a Tarok. A Tarok's not going to be cheaper than, you know, the Castellan. The Bull Centaurs are not that great fighters as it is. They could have really done with something to help him along, and this guy doesn't do much really, so I'm a bit disappointed. But I can't fault the model. It's an amazing model, absolute joy to build and paint, and he looks fantastic on the table. He's a real centerpiece to the army, which again I think the Chaos Dwarfs needed. Although they've got an amazing range of models, from the infantry, the Bull Centaurs and the War Machines are all fantastic looking. None of it was really like big and stand out. I say that they're all big and chunky, and they do stand out a fair amount. But he's a real presence on the tabletop, and I think the whole faction really benefits from him being part of them. I just wish there was something a bit different about the rules. I don't even expect him to be better. I just thought something different. It seems like it was kind of, I don't know, lazy writing, or I don't know. I'd have just hoped for something a bit different. So anyway, that aside, we've got plenty to be excited about on this week's releases. There you go. I get accused of being a massive Games Workshop fanboy, which I am. But you know, bad review. Ben saying bad things. It's not often you see that. So that's the releases this week, and there's tons of them. In other news, what have I been up to? So I've been painting a lot of stuff. I've not painted this much stuff for a long time, and I've really wanted to just get through the models. And like my Bloodthirster, I won this Bloodthirster in what was it? It was the South Coast GT community vote for the best army for my Chaos Dwarfs. I actually won this guy from Games Workshop, and I've only just got around to painting him. So I've painted him in the last week, dry brushing and inking, washing. It was really nice to do. I was watching the Duncan Rhodes Warhammer TV videos while I was painting him, which is in a different colour scheme, and I was watching Awaken Realms, who is an airbrushing video. So I was watching one guy paint with a brush in a different colour, another guy paint different colours again with an airbrush, and I was painting my own Bloodthirster again with different techniques and different colours. But it was quite fun to watch the YouTube videos of them. The Savage Orruk Mega Boss, I think he's called. He's the double-handed weapon guy. He looks like he's running and swinging his axe. Fantastic model. I've enjoyed painting him. He's not quite finished, but yeah, he's been really nice to paint. So yeah, plenty of hobby time going on. So let me know what you guys have been up to. If you've been painting, if you use Sylvaneth, I've seen tons of them online. That's been really interesting to see people cracking open the new releases. If you're excited about Bonesplitterz, let me know if you've got any plans. Get some Savage Orc Arrow Boys, blast from the past for old listeners. Savage Orc Arrow Boys on the table and painting them, that'd be cool to see. So yeah, keep on with the painting and let me know what you're up to, and I'll see you on next week's episode. I think next week I'm going to have a bit more of an in-depth look at Bonesplitterz, and also we're going to be talking about Season of War, because it is so exciting. There's a live website up, and as results are going in, as you're playing games, you can go into a Games Workshop store, submit your results, and they actually get inputted live, and the map gets updated there and then. As we're recording, Order are dominating. All 3 territories, Order are in charge. So get your Bonesplitterz on the table, play some games, get some destruction to smash people up, and hopefully we can start seeing some swings away from the Order domination. The Games Workshop Facebook page is actually doing from what I can tell, a daily update from how the map campaign's going and showing people what's happening where the trends are going, where the swings are. It's really cool to watch and see the coverage of. So exciting times in the Age of Sigmar. I can't remember in all the years I've been gaming more going on in the last month than ever before in the game. So it's a fantastic time for us massive geeks who are loving Age of Sigmar. Okay guys, well thanks so much for listening and watching. I'll see you on the next episode next Saturday. Thanks very much.